Nick, I can't remember. Was it you or was it Derek Van Riper who suggested that we go all in on the Lions Saints game from this past
I
weekend?
don't think it was me. I'm
All
gonna, I'm
right.
gonna, I'm not taking any blame for that.
I think
There
it
you
was
go.
DVR then. We're going to blame him. Well, I
Yes,
followed
do
that
that.
advice and I got crushed
Oh.
in fantasy, in daily fantasy over the weekend. How brutal was that game as far as fantasy owners were concerned?
Yeah, it was awful. I mean, I think you look at this game and, like the over-under was something close to 54.
Yeah.
And me looking at it on paper, it was, okay, this is a great matchup for both sides, but, I almost like the Saints. The Saints are the team that have the more dynamic skill position players, the guys who matter a little bit more in DFS. So unless you were a Golden Tate owner on FanDuel or DraftKings or a Matthew Stafford owner, you pretty much got burned. I mean, the Saints side of this was extremely disappointing. 3 picks for Drew Brees. If he was your quarterback, pretty tough to cash in any of those contests. It was nice to see Brandin Cooks back on the board, 7 catches, 73 yards after not even being targeted in week 12, but still a little bit of a disappointment as he failed to reach the end zone and really nothing going on the ground for either team. If you went with Mark Ingram or you went with Tim Hightower as kind of a punt play as a cheap running back, you got burned there. But I guess if you went with John Kuhn, you did get your value there. You got in the end zone.
By the way, so you mentioned that Brandin Cooks finally, after going no targets at all in the Rams game, and they score 49 points, he gets targeted, I believe, 9 times and catches 7 passes. How do you like that moving forward as far as Cooks is concerned?
It's been a weird year for Cooks. Like you said, if you were told that the Saints scored almost 50 points against the Rams and Drew Brees was whipping the ball all over the place and had 4 touchdowns, you would just assume that Brandin Cooks was a big part of that. And, not only was he not a minor part of it, he wasn't a part of it whatsoever. So that was odd. But it was back to normal, for Brandin Cooks this week. I don't love him now as much as I did going into the season. Certainly, he only has 2 100-yard games on the year. Hasn't had a 100-yard game since mid-October. But at the end of the day, this is still the Saints offense. This is still Brandin Cooks. He's the #1 receiver for Drew Brees. So he's a tough guy, especially in season long, that to really consider taking out of your lineup.